कुठला नेमका?
As we pass that Apollo 13 record of the furthest humans to ever fly from Earth at 12:57 p.m. Central Time, 1:57 p.m. Eastern Time, the Artemis II crew shared some poignant words, specifically Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. The crew also
कुठला?
called down 2 craters not yet named that they would like to name. One, Integrity, in honor of their spacecraft, which they have named.
Oh.
That's near the Ohm
मला
crater.
स्वतःला माहिती काय मी केलं.
Another near Glushko, which is a bright spot, named Carol, in memory of Reed Wiseman's wife.
I don't know. Bye bye, hello.
There was a moment of silence here in Mission Control Houston. And now the team and the Artemis II crew are ready to begin their lunar flyby.
हेलो गाइस, मैं बहुत लेट हूँ आज। आज हम देख रहे हैं आर्टेमिस 2 का फार साइड ऑफ मून की स्ट्रीम। अरे भाई, मेरा पता नहीं क्यों आज लैग हो रहा है इतना, और भी बहुत लैग कर रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों। तो वही हो रहा है, फार साइड ऑफ मून दिख रहा है, बट मेरा ओबीएस लैग क्यों खा रहा है?
We are 4 days, 19 hours, 31 minutes mission elapsed time of the flight of Artemis II, our 4 astronauts aboard Orion. Today is our lunar flyby day. The spacecraft is currently about 12,000 miles away from the moon, and you can keep up with the distance from Orion to the moon and Earth by visiting nasa.gov/trackartemis, or you can just stay with us here because we're going to be telling you throughout the day. They are currently 248,834 miles away from planet Earth. Coming up next on the crew's timeline today will be their cabin configuration portion. You heard some calls down to Science Officer Dr. Kelsey Young earlier about how they have configured the cabin so far. This is just a little bit more of timelined activity for them if they need to further do so. On flight day 3, the crew had time on their schedule allotted for configuring the spacecraft cabin for how they intended to arrange it today. Of course, they had to take down that configuration for another test yesterday of their Orion Crew Survival System suits. But configuring it on flight day 3 allows them the opportunity to get a chance to see what works for them now that they are in the microgravity environment. Again, the crew is about to begin their cabin configuration portion of their timeline, though they have been working that already, as well as potentially during their post-sleep period this morning. The official lunar flyby observations are slated to begin in just about 40 minutes. That's when we'll have the crew at the windows photographing the moon, as well as making calls down about what they are seeing. Again, we are live here in Artemis Mission Control for the duration of the flyby. Currently, the Orbit 1 flight control team is on console. This room is staffed 24/7 from the time before the astronauts step foot on the rocket until the time they are splashed down and are safely recovered in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. Again, this is Artemis Mission Control here in Houston. We are now 11,777 miles away from the moon. We did pass the Apollo 13 record of farthest humans away from Earth at 12:57 p.m. Central Time, 1:57 p.m. Eastern Time. That distance, 248,655 statute miles from the Earth, continuing to be exceeded by the crew. They will reach their farthest distance from the Earth around 6:07 p.m. Central Time. At that time, they will be in an LOS, or a loss of signal, with us on Earth, as they'll be flying behind the moon.
Hello
As the
guys,
crew gets into their cabin configuration
Artemis
preparations, we
पहुंचने
are
वाला
joined by
है मैं
Dr.
जरा
Sarah
मेरा
Noble,
लैग
the
क्यों हो
Artemis
रहा है
Lunar
पीछे
Science Lead. Thanks for joining us here today.
Yeah, it's quite a day.
हवा तो छोड़
Yeah,
रहा
we
है
are
बस
very excited. I can only imagine how you guys are doing over there. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what your role is for Artemis II.
Sure. So I'm the Artemis Lunar Science Lead, so over the entire campaign, and my job is basically to make sure that as we have this big adventure back to the moon, we actually learn new things about the moon.
Fascinating. So why is the
मेरा
moon such
पीसी
an important
मेरा
destination
OBS लैग
today?
बहुत है आज पता
Yeah,
नहीं
so the
क्यों
moon is a pretty amazing place. It is a great place to learn about basic fundamental processes that happen on like all the planets, like cratering and volcanology, and also it is part of our Earth-Moon system. And the Earth recycles its rocks pretty well, right, through plate tectonics and weathering and whatever. Most of the rocks on the Earth are geologically young, but on the moon we have the entire record that goes back 4.5 billion years until
OBS
since
क्या हो रहा है
we
तेरे को
formed. And so, if we really want to learn about what was happening in that period, like the moon is really the only place we can go.
We're also thinking about going back to the moon. We want to go to the lunar South Pole. So what makes that such an interesting destination?
Yeah, the South Pole is cool, right? It's far away from the places we went during Apollo. It's different kinds of rocks there, some of the oldest rocks on the moon. It's also a place where we think there might be resources like water. There are craters that really never can see the sun because of the low sun angles there, and they get very cold. And we think that water and other things can build up in those craters, and so we're very interested to see what that might do for us.
मेरा
I'm very
तो
interested as
मेरे को
well. So for some
गजा
of our
जैसा
viewers who
लग
might be new
रहा
to this, what does lunar science look like during an Artemis mission?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for us as we have like sort of built this from scratch to try to
है
understand
चल
how
रहा
we
है क्या
can
नहीं
best
खोज नहीं
use the
दिख पा
crew to
रहा है
support our science. And so, we've developed a system. We've got a team in place. We've got a back room here in this building called the SIR, the Science Evaluation Room. And there's in fact a back room to that back room over in another building here at Johnson Space Center where we've got our teams of scientists working really hard. They're actually speaking to this room through our science officer. This is now the first time we've ever had a science officer
फाइनली
in
पहुंचने
flight
वाले हैं
control.
मेरे को
So
लेट हो
we're
गया
pretty
मैं
excited
जरा
about that.
हो
So we
गया
have a
था
really voice out and up
मैं
to
अभी
the crew.
जस्ट पिंग
It's
करेगा
been so
तेरा
exciting
मैसेज
to
आया
hear
था
Dr. Kelsey Young speaking
पार
directly
साइड
with the crew
वाला
today now, so close to the moon. And we have a live view here of the science operation or the science evaluation room. So this is where the majority of your team is today. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. This is a big chunk of our scientists. You can see them in there now working hard, trying to get ready for the day. And then again, there's a second room where we have a lot of our data folks, where the data will first come down and they'll sort of sift through the data and get it ready for this team to take.
What's the mood like right now in the SIR?
It is, I would say, giddy. I think we've worked very hard for this. They have done simulation after simulation. They have worked really hard over the last couple of years to get ready for this moment, and I think everybody's
अभी
just really
लिटरली इंडिया
excited
के
to
पास
see.
है
Even
मून अभी
already
इंडिया में
we've had
दिखेगा रहा है तो
some descriptions from the crew coming down, and it's
समझ
so
जाओ
great to see their joy and our joy, our love for the moon come through.
Yes, we are in for a real treat today if it's been anything like their observations the past couple of days. So how are the lunar science teams using this test flight to prepare for future missions to the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the way that we are building our foundation for the future, from everything from, how do you train a crew to be a geologist, right? And so, working through that, getting them classroom training, field training, building the science team, building these physical rooms that we are in, designing the software that the teams are using, and then, figuring out what happens to that data. They're going to take this data and it's going to come down, and how do we get it out to not only our team, but out to the world and the rest of the science community.
Yeah, that's a great point, because when you hear these crew members talk, you would never know that they're not geologists. Your team has trained them so well.
They have been very good students.
Who can blame them? It's a pretty great topic. One more question for you. How does the science that we're doing on Artemis help support long-term exploration and including our sustained presence on the moon?
Yeah, we have a saying in the Science Mission Directorate that science enables exploration and exploration enables science, right? So you need the scientists because we are the ones who are the experts in, landing site and doing analysis of landing site and making sure we can find a good place to land, to understanding the properties of the soil so we can, design our systems to manage that, understanding the radiation environment, keeping our astronauts safe, all of these things, right? But, in return, you provide us with opportunities where now we're going to be able to collect this data and collect samples and deploy our instruments and all of that. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
That makes perfect sense. Well, Dr. Sarah Noble, Artemis Lunar Science Lead, thank you so much for joining us here today. Best of luck to you and your team, and I hope that you get to enjoy today too.
Thank you so much.
We are now Getting closer and closer to our lunar neighbor, this live view coming from the Orion spacecraft and a camera mounted on one of its solar array wings.
Houston, integrity for camera serial numbers.
Ready to copy.
Hey Jenny, these are card numbers for the various positions. For the long lens on the D5, we will have individual cards. Victor's 1008, Jeremy 1019, Reed 1012, myself
जैसा दिमाग खराब कर रहा है
1015. For the Z9, we will have one card that is dedicated for today, serial number
यार रिलैक्स
1007. For the cabin camera D5, we will have one dedicated card for today, serial number 1022.
हो रहा है पहली बार इतना किसी लैग हुआ है ये ओबीएस चल नहीं पा रहा है
Copy all. Thank you.
ये क्या है ब्राउज ब्राउज विंडो ओके
We
आउटपुट
just realized that we have Earth out window 1 and Moon out window 2, and we were, I'm sorry, Earth out window 4 and Moon out window 3, and it gives you the
पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है
best
इसको
idea of scale we have had yet. The Moon is about 3 to 4 times the size
भाई
of the Earth, and it is
ये
almost full, and
प्रॉब्लम
the
क्या है
Earth is just
इतना
a small crescent out there. It's magnificent. I got a picture of it with the wide lens. Such a majestic
क्या लगेगा
view
रात
out here.
Amaze, amaze, amaze. Thank you, Reed.
Those are some of the communications we're excited most about today. Commander Reed Wiseman calling down their view right now. Obviously a little bit different than what we can see from the solar array camera. They are looking through the windows of the Orion spacecraft, able to see at the same time Earth and the Moon. You also heard NASA astronaut Christina Cook calling down some of the cameras that they will be using today. The crew is in that cabin configuration portion, and we expect the lunar flyby observation period to start in just about 20 minutes. Checking in on Orion's distance and speed, they are currently traveling 1,071 miles per hour, 249,159 miles away from Earth, 11,293 miles away from the moon, and continuing to grow closer. At closest approach to the moon today, the spacecraft will be just about 4,070 miles away from the lunar surface. This will be during our loss of signal with the crew as they travel behind the moon, and we will await their return to get the official number for you for how close they come to our lunar neighbor. Inside the cabin today, the lunar targeting package is the primary tool guiding the crew observations and consists of two key components. The lunar geography review helped the astronauts study major lunar features in advance and help learn how to orient themselves during the flyby. Because, of course, the moon is not actually labeled like it appears here when we look at this map. The lunar targeting plan provides a detailed timeline of observation targets, background science context, and specific instructions for the pictures the crew should take, as well as the verbal descriptions that will be helpful to the science team reviewing them later. This is a screenshot from their lunar package,
और कितना टाइम लगेगा इसको?
specifically of that lunar.
I think so ये भाई बहुत टाइम लगेगा अभी तो मेरा अभी लैग कितना लैग पूरा.
Hey Jenny, understanding we are in final
तो लाइक करके
attitude
बाद में
now
मुझे
for
नहीं
the
लूँगा.
lunar
सब किया था ना.
flyby.
हेलो क्या हुआ इसको?
Would it be possible
नाश्ता
to
तो नहीं
pitch
किया
the
नहीं
vehicle
किया.
down 5 degrees? That would allow us to get the
ग्लिच
D5
हो रहा है
long
यूट्यूब का.
lens
लैग हो रहा है मेरा.
flush and have the least amount of window distortion.
देखते हैं कितना ज़्यादा झेलता है. देखो टारगेटेड इन्फो,
That call from Christina
कैमरा
Cook, NASA
एक्शन
astronaut and
ये
mission
सब है.
specialist on
उसके
Artemis
बाद ये
2.
इसका टाइम टेबल है कि इधर टाइम पे जाएगा.
The Orion spacecraft is positioned in a specific attitude to allow the crew to best see the moon outside of their windows today for this
सोचो
imaging
आप एलियन
opportunity.
स्पेसशिप पे कुछ
That call
दिखता
was
है
a
लाइव
request
में.
for a potential attitude shift just slightly, another 5 degrees, to give them a better view
अरे
and to
इधर
give
का
them a better
ये क्या फोटो
opportunity
दिखा
to
रहे हैं
use
मेरे
their
को
long
समझ
lens
नहीं आ
camera.
रहा. ये क्या फोटो है ये? सीसी अंकल देखा नहीं.
They'll also be using that lunar targeting package we were discussing. I am
क्योंकि
following along with that
कितना
real-time,
पास
so I'll be able to
कितना
share with you
दूर है.
exactly what targets the crew is
वो
looking
है
at and
लॉन्चर जो
when.
था ना.
They also trained with a lunar science passport. It's a little reference guide used on Earth to reinforce recognition of key lunar features. It is not on the flight, but it was a significant study tool for the crew to get them ready for launch. The apparent size of the moon will change throughout the flyby, and it'll appear roughly like a basketball held at arm's length at the crew's closest approach. That reinforces the need for careful planning and practiced observation techniques.
granularity for timeline.
Go ahead.
भाई मेरा इतना अभी लैग हो रहा है ना, पता नहीं क्या हो गया इसको। मैं सोच रहा था बाद में ही कर ले।
Hey Jenny, just to make absolutely sure that we start observations when expected, we are showing in Optimus that observation time starts in about 15 minutes, and in LTP that our first target, discussion 1, starts in about 29 minutes. Can you confirm you'd like us to start discussion 1 in 29 minutes at 1900 GMT?
Christina, we are tracking that discussion 1 should start at 18:45. That's 15 minutes from now.
Okay, copy all. It may be a granularity issue with
Cutting it,
LTP,
I didn't,
but understand that
what do
we
you
start
require?
that
Yeah.
observation in 15 minutes, and I bet when we get there, the green line in LTP will match the start of the white band for discussion 1. I think it's just a matter of the labeling and the granularity. Thanks for confirming.
Copy, and we'll look into that a little bit more on our side as well. Christina, can you verify for us that your green line is moving on the timeline page of your LTP?
Affirm. Jenny, I do think we're good. Looking closer, I see the labels are just not aligned with start or end times of the white visible bands. It fully makes sense now, so I think we are all set. We'll look forward to starting some observations in about 13 minutes.
Copy. Thanks, Christina.
As you heard discussed, we are expecting the crew's observation time period to start in about 10 minutes. First, they'll be conducting a warm-up, warming up to their science observations of the moon. They'll be discussing with each other, helping each other orient using the major landmarks that they've studied, asking what is familiar.
If we roll left, port 5 degrees, that would get the moon closer to the left side of window 2.
Copy, Victor. We'd like to know if it's pitch and roll or one or the other.
Jenny, we actually thought you already put the pitch in. Had the pitch been put in already?
No, we need a little while longer to talk about it.
So Jenny, I guess what's happening is just as our orbit's changing, where it is in the window is changing, so maybe these fancy little adjustments aren't worth it. It's going to continue to move in the window. Or is the spacecraft going to keep the moon at the same point of the window if we adjust the attitude? I assume the previous.
Right now, we are pointing the center of the window to the center of the moon with 2 degrees of deadband.
मेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा ये वाला फोटो है वो जो बूस्टर्स थे उससे क्यों ले दिखा रहा है ऐसा क्योंकि फेस वाला दिखना चाहिए ना जो कोई बता
The conversation you hear happening now between the astronauts aboard Orion and Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. They are in the center of your screen, seated at the CAPCOM, or Capsule Communicator Console. That's Jenny Gibbons, Canadian Space Agency astronaut and Artemis II backup. She was also the lead Capcom for Expedition 63 aboard the International Space Station. The crew is requesting some attitude changes to the spacecraft to allow them to better image the moon, our priority for today. Of course, those have to be discussed on the ground before they are put into work on the spacecraft, so the team is taking some time to do so. You also heard Gibbons reference that we are in 2 deadbands. Deadbands are essentially keeping us in the lane in which we're traveling. If you're familiar with lane assist in your car, very similar in this case. We are now 10,870 miles away from the moon. Traveling 2,066 miles per hour and 249,390 miles away from Earth.
What the hell?
Again, we recently surpassed the Apollo 13 distance
आज
record.
आवाज नहीं आता होगा तो बिल्कुल मुझे नहीं पता कि मेरा सेम सेटिंग्स है वही सेटिंग्स में मैं स्ट्रीम कर रहा हूँ 2 दिन पहले या फिर कल नहीं कल नहीं 2 दिन पहले मैंने यही सेटिंग्स स्ट्रीम किए एकदम मक्खन गई थी ये नहीं पता तो क्या हो रहा है
This is Artemis Mission Control. We are standing by for the beginning of lunar flyby. Expecting that to start in just a few minutes when the crew will begin a warm-up discussion preparing for the day. They will be capturing images along while discussing what they find familiar about the moon and what looks unexpected to them. Again, just minutes away from the official start of lunar flyby, or when it is timelined for the crew. We are currently 10,726 miles away from the moon. This view on the left side of your screen coming from the camera on one of Orion's solar arrays.
भाई मुझे कोई बताओ कि इसके कॉकपिट में जो है ना ओरायन, जिसका नाम उसका कैप्सूल का, उसका क्यों नहीं दिखा रहा है अभी? अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मैं देख रहा था कि टीम किसी की ये वाली इस बॉय की उस पे दिखा रहे थे, इसमें नहीं दिखा रहा अभी, पता नहीं क्यों, फॉर सम रीजन.
They'll be looking to orient themselves using major landmarks and annotating their observations along with their discussion.
For some reason, पता नहीं.
They'll have 10 minutes for that warm-up discussion.
नासा क्या हो गया? ये है क्या? ये देखो. कितना गंदा लैग हुई ना हो रहा है ना, पता नहीं क्यों. मेरा पीस हट ना जाए. ये भी सेम दिखा रहा है. ये भी सेम दिखा रहा है, वो भी सेम दिखा रहा है.
Houston integrity. We have two folks at the window deep in discussion talking about all of the awesome features that they're seeing. We just had a huge moment realizing that Hertzsprung is about the same size as our incredible Oriental. We're really excited about this target that's kind of new to us. We're orienting on things like how we talk about albedo, finding some of the prevalent things that we're used to from all of our training, and just overall taking in this view. We also are noticing that the moon is still getting noticeably bigger as we go, even when you're watching it continuously. It's great to see these two guys get warmed up.
Oh shit. No, about that.
We love the report, Christina. Thanks. And you nailed it on why we added Hertzsprung. As you'll see in the prompts, we're looking for comparisons to the comparatively much older Hertzsprung compared to the younger Oriental. Great words.
This is Artemis Mission Control. That was the voice of Dr. Kelsey Young speaking with the astronauts aboard Orion as they begin their observation period and lunar flyby. NASA astronaut Christina Cook reporting their view of Hertzsprung Basin. The team here is looking for centered images of the basin at a full zoom, and they're hoping that the astronauts can image and describe the inner and outer rings. This is considered a degraded basin with a floor, rings, and ejecta compared to a younger Oriental basin. We spoke earlier with Julian Gross, the Artemis curation lead, about some of the terms we will hear the crew use today. One of those just called out, that's albedo, looking at surface brightness, or the amount of light a surface reflects.